Right. Let's see if this bot is working. I added the bot. I hope. Oh, I have no idea where this bot is. Not seeing it. Okay, mushy. No, you're not a bot, right? I added some kind of bot, but it should join automatically. And since it isn't, let me have a check. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Bot doesn't work. I gave it access to all my YouTube account. It can change anything. Ridiculous amount of trust there, and then it doesn't join. Guess I'm doing something wrong. Okay, yeah. Someone asked somewhere where my new color scheme was. Yeah. I tried to add Nightbot. I don't know what I did wrong. Let me think. It was nightbot.tv or something. Can try nightbot.tv. Login. Part channel. Top chatter. Well, it should be on. It should be there. It saw that you said something. How can we test if this bot is here? To look at the participants again. It's not showing a participants. The main problem is if you don't see it, I should make it a moderator. So maybe I can channel command. You're still at the top. Matthias, do you see hi in chat? Do you see Nightbot? Let me try that also. Hi and Nightbot. Does it do something? I don't think so. I don't see anything on the channel. I can make polls. Not seeing logs. It's recording it. How do I know if I gave the thing moderator or not? And why is it not showing in the chat? It's definitely not showing in the chat. Oh well. We'll know when the. Yeah, it's logging you, so it should be here, but nobody can see it. Really strange. Let's see how this works. Add user. This is the YouTube channel URL for a user you want to add as a regular. Okay. How can I do that? I don't know how to add a URL of a user here. Maybe in the participants list. Nothing. Share maybe? Nope, it's just my channel. Nothing works. Damn it. What the hell, man. I'm going to code. Cancel. Yeah, sorry, I wanted to add you guys, but nothing works as usual. Yeah, well, what's up? Yeah, well, I was trying to add a bot, but it's hiding itself. Let me see. It's compiling. It's still working, I bet. Yes, also very nice. And now I'm going to apply what I'm not sure when I thought of this. Could even be while I was sleeping, because I'm kind of had the idea when I was waking up today. I think the solution is, as described in the description already, Nina, hello. I think maybe if you guys do something really bad, well, we'll just wait till the spam bots show up. If it doesn't take care of that, then something is really, really wrong. Although I don't know. I might have to add a filter for the spam bots myself. So it still doesn't really prove that the Nightbot is not on the channel. Hello D. So we have a handle here, handle something. I have to split this function up into two functions, I think, and the first call is the one that is doing this horse race locking. Acquires logs, and then when we get at the end here, I just want to create. I have the logs, and I have the logs on this list, right? But not on all of them, only on the ones that we acquired. So if I leave the function after this for loop here, then the problem is that I lose my required shader resources list. So I'll have to move that then to the object, I guess. Well, I'm already doing that, not for Moscow. It's C++. What else? Let's see. How many other things do I still need? Things being local variables. We have a largest set index. Got to reinvent that one, but it's definitely being used later. And that's about it, I think. Okay, so I'm just going to make these two object variables of ShaderInputData. It's kind of silly. I believe that this value is going to be equal to the size of that. In which case I don't have to store it. Really? Already? Okay, something like this, and then we'll put an M in front of it to make it clear that it is a member now of a class, of the class. And then we go back. So I'm having the largest thing, which is now an M. It's being initialized here. Wait a minute, it's maybe not. Maybe I should, well, I don't know. Maybe, at the very least, I have to initialize it to 0 here, I think. I'm going to add an assert as well here to see if maybe it's a trivial thing. It's probably equal to the size of this thing here, which happens to be a normal vector. So I can just do size. Well, -1. So I can do largest set index is just a vector index, so I have to do get value and then add 1. And that should be equal to the size. Well, yeah, well, what do I want to type? Skipping, say, shader resource. That are in a given descriptor set, but aren't used in this pipeline. And leave this assert here for a very long time. It's not going to fire anytime soon, but maybe in a few years, you know. So if in a few years I still see this has not fired, and then I know that I already added this complexity, then maybe you can get rid of this largest set index. I'm just not sure. So in the end, I'm just going to keep it as a member of this class, meaning M. Did I do? No, redo. M there. M everywhere. Why I'm not just doing a global search and replace, but we're done. And then the other one was started with acquired. This one, let's change this one globally. Percentage substitute this thing without a pushback with M underscore the thing. Oh, that doesn't work. And now I'm typed so. Okay. What did just happen? One of the downsides. Oh, I switched to a different file. What the hell? No, I didn't. What? I'm on window.h. How did I get here? I switched to a different... oh, that's what happened. I switched to a different tab by accident. Right. So underscore added to that one too. I should leave this. Then now I can. Why do you feel like it's just pre-recorded stream, Mr. Legend? Legends. Totally not pre-recorded. Okay, now I can, I think, leave the function here and then enter it again later on. Let's make that a boolean as well. Now I'm not sure which arguments I'm going to need. Let's have a look at all the arguments. We have a pipeline factory, which is being used here. That's used for the acquire log. So we don't need that in the second function. Right, we have an owning window. That is used for the create. And also in the second function. And then I have a set binding map. That is used in the first function and in the second function. Yep. And then I have the descriptor set layouts canonical pointer. Who made up those names? That's being used here. Okay, there's an assert here. If I'm not using it, I might move the assert to the second function. And then I don't think it's being used in the first function. That was all nice and dandy, but did I remember all this? So I'm making a second function, and yeah, I forgot it. Definitely forgot it. The only thing I still remember is the last thing, namely that I did not need this last argument. I believe that the owning window wasn't necessary, the binding map was necessary, so the pipeline factory itself was not necessary in this second one. Okay, remove here the pipeline factory. Okay, so now I did split up my function in two functions with exactly the same name. But different arguments, so well, gonna rename it anyway, because this one creates it, so handling shader resource creation request is good for the first function, but let's see. I thought I had no life, but certain people in the chat clearly don't have lives either. Required shader resources list. I think the thing also works for past comments. So maybe I can test the moderator functionality of my bot with this. That would be nice. Let's do Nightbot TV. Wow, you're still. There is a comment. Nightbot. Is that a comment? Well, now we can see that it is on the channel, but we already know that because it's logging stuff. Let me see spam protection. If I do blacklist words. See if this worked. It's not kicking out Happy Monkey, but that might be because it was in the past. Not sure if this applies to things that were already said. So, Happy Monkey, can you repeat that, please? I tried to, but I didn't know how, and I cannot verify it because it doesn't show up in the channel. So if you can tell me how I can add him as a mod. It said that I don't know, I had to paste some kind of URL somewhere. Yeah, but D is a nice guy. You should have tested it on Happy Monkey. Isn't D a nice guy? Pretty sure he is. Okay, what just had it? Oh, D was testing it. Oh, D D tested it, I think. So yeah, on the first, can I still see this message? Yeah, thank you for testing it, man. So I guess you said a K word. So that next time you do that, it will kick you out for 10 minutes, I think, or I set it to 5 maybe. Can I still? I cannot undo this. Delete view message. View deleted message. Yep. Okay, I see. Okay, well, the only thing I was really interested in with this bot is to remove those stupid spammers. Okay, now I can see Nightbot in the chat. Yeah, and he shows as a. Okay, I see that, but under participants, you only see people that have said anything in the chat. That's the reason. Participants means not that they joined, but that they also said something. So that and then maybe even that disappears again after you didn't say anything for a while. So it's pretty limited. Right, well, goodbye. That works. Now, what's my problem here? I want to rename the second call. What this is going to do is going to allocate the descriptor sets. So allocate somewhere. There it is. Allocate the descriptor sets and then update the descriptor set. I'm not even going to call it handle anymore. Just allocate missing descriptor sets. Allocate and update. That should work. Then we have to jump to the header file and duplicate this function. And give it a different name. And then fix again the arguments, because the first one did not need this, right? And the second one, no, it was the other way around. I think the second one did not need this sort of descriptor set layouts. And the first one did not need a pipeline factory. Wasn't it like that? Already forgot again. And both are using a bool. F7. So the second one is not using pipeline factory. So I did it wrong. One day we'll get there. So I swapped them. Okay, now the first one still has a boolean and we still return true here. And we still return false here, so we must return true here. But it's not the same meaning anymore. Really? Well, the meaning is actually, maybe it is. I still have the log. It's a vague meaning. I think it just means that we can continue and should not wait. That's basically it. And this one is returning true as well at the end. It's never returning false, but it's going to, I guess, eventually. Okay, let's see if this compiles the way it is now. Linux tour, how did you learn engine development? You just do it. Engine development? You have to be crazy, I guess. Use of undeclared identifier base. That's disappointing. Shader build resource on. Okay. Well, maybe the right answer is who said that I learned engine development. No clue. You're watching someone with no clue. Error, unnamed type. Did you mean descriptor? I probably meant descriptor. think it's a nice feature that if it can find it in another namespace, then it gives that as a suggestion. So then at least you know what namespace is missing. Too many arguments to function call. Expected 3 have 4. Well, that's obvious. And this is also exactly where I still need to fix it. So I split this function up in 2. And I forgot again what I changed. But if I run make C tags first, then I can jump to the function and see it. Okay, W. No, wait, I want to jump to here. This one does not pass the last argument anymore, so let's remove that. I want to remember what it was though. Let's put that here. Nope, delete, make. Yeah, hello Xitrum. Expected expression. Right, there's another error here. Use of undeclared identifier descriptor set layouts canonical pointer. Oh, I did not move the assert. So the idea was to move this to the new function then. Right, so now what? More errors. No viable overloaded assignment. Yeah, that's true. I think Z0, Z0, Z20, Z20. Or not, yeah, this one. Array index, vector index. That's the one we are calling, Z20. More errors. Use undeclared identifier base again. Okay, we miss using stuff here. I have here using, so I'm gonna use that one as well. Now I think about it. So I removed it from there. Okay, I'm just going to copy all of that, put that here. Using namespace, it was necessary to understand all my abbreviations down there, and this one is going to print that we are inside. I'll get out the missing descriptor sets, and we do not anymore have that one. We begin with owning window, and then here we have a comma and another thing, and that other thing is a pointer. Did I print that previously as a pointer or not? I don't know, so now I have to look at the diff. We were looking for this thing here. Okay, that's weird. Apparently it was never printed. That's the line. I must have added that pointer and then never printed it at the entry. Descriptor set layout, canonical pointer. Not even understanding why it is a pointer. Oh, okay, well, that's the reason. I'm not going to print it. I'll just print the value of the pointer. No. This is open source. You can get all of it on GitHub. I'm giving it away for free. But as you can see, nobody can follow what I'm doing, so... Why is there a semicolon here suddenly? That's really, really strange. I'm going to kick... Yeah, thank you. You had the same idea. I mean, I have nothing against kids, but when 10-year-olds starting to fill the chat, they're wasting my time and distracting me. Damn it. Can you write a program for me if I pay? If you pay enough, absolutely. But the amount of money I usually ask makes everyone back off, including companies. I think there was only once. I've been paid like once. Exactly once, yeah. And then I didn't even ask that much because I just felt for the guy. Yeah, the story, maybe you even know it if you know me, but at some point I deleted my home directory by accident. It wasn't with RM, but with an unmount, really dirty thing. And everyone said you cannot recover that because I was using X3 file system on Linux, and deleting files is just, they're gone, they said. To make the long story short, I wrote a program in 2 weeks' time to recover all my 50,000 files. And I wrote a how-to, how I did it, put it on the internet, which then was translated to every language in the world and published on 100 other websites. And many people then turned out to have a copy of hard disks, X3 hard disks, where they had deleted very important stuff. And you have these companies that, if you pay them, they recover your files. But they all said that it was not possible, and if they tried it, they couldn't. And they still even had hard disk images laying around that they had filled for. Then they used my program, and it just worked. Yeah. Funny thing. The things that have the most impact that I did in a month or less. And all my projects that I worked on years, like this project is using 10 years of coding. It's not 10 years for Vulkan, but I'm now at 2 years for Vulkan. And for some reason, that is never noticed by people. But okay, so at some point someone contacted me that he had worked his whole life for a one-man company. He had offering websites to clients, and he accidentally deleted his virtual hard disk of I don't know, many gigabytes. So he lost the websites of all his clients, and he was going to lose all his clients and his whole company and his whole life's work. And my program didn't work. So he asked me if I could look at it personally, and I said, okay, if you pay me in advance, and I only asked 50 euros per hour, but I did not give any guarantee. I just said, if it's not there, I cannot recover it. In the end, he even had to borrow money from his mother to pay me. I think, now I sound like a wolf, but I really didn't. I really didn't ask that much, I think. So I worked for 2 weeks. He paid me in total 4,000 euros, and I recovered everything. And he kept all his clients and his company. So that was definitely worth it for him. He was very, very, very happy. But that's about the only time I made $4,000 in 2 weeks. And I didn't like it. It was very frustrating work. Because I also felt the time pressure, of course. Those clients, he had already contacted one of those file restore companies who failed. So his clients were already waiting like 2 weeks. And now they had to wait another 2 weeks. So it really could not take a long time. He had to satisfy his customers, or they would just leave and give up on the website. There is no end goal. Yeah, well, I am also Alaric. Just another alias of me. I used that when I worked on, what is it? Second Life. So Alaric Inglewood is a Second Life character that was just a viewer developer. I think I started working for Linden Lab on their open source viewer, and when they became assholes, I left. I went to another viewer, and then when they became assholes, I went to another team, and when they became assholes, I left Second Life completely. I think there was another viewer in between. I'm not good in teams. Let's put the blame on me. I don't know. Vulkan is the same as OpenGL, but then if is OpenGL a game engine? I think no. So Vulkan is not either. I'm going to continue with coding. Expected expression. Probably there's a problem here. Oh, that was my semicolon that I removed. I'm glad to see that this goto has been on the screen all this time, and there was not a strong decline in number of viewers. It's bloody compiling. Okay, that's one thing. I need to get up probably somewhere close here anyway. No, I don't. Actually, I do. That's what it is being called. Okay, so I have this call, and now when it returns true, it has created all the shader resources, but I split the function in two. So to restore the same functionality, I have to call it again, but then the second part. And the second part was called, well, I don't know, just something long. So I'll really have to go here and then copy it, allocate and update missing descriptor sets, right. And then this time around we don't have to pass this, but we have to pass that and that thing. Yep, and then the rest is the same. Well, for now anyway. So now I split this function up in two, and I'm calling it in two, and that should compile and run and work. I thought Heisenberg was dead, but he was a smart guy. Let's think about this. It's running, compiling. It's not working. Oh, there's an assert wrong. Well, that's fast. We have a very fast answer here. Largest set index get val plus 1 is not equal to the size of M. No, of course it's not, idiot. Okay, that was nonsensical. Nevertheless, maybe there is another thing that I can compare it with. I think any vector will do, as long as it has set index or set index int as a index. So let's try set index. This would be usable, but my current function is filling that in, so it's not defined yet. Push back to descriptor set, that's not what I want. This, the return size of this function, but also that hasn't been called yet, I think. But we're copying that from this sort of descriptor set layout size. That's probably what I should use. I think so. So let's use that instead. I think that should work. Actually, there's a better way, because this thing here is a... Oh, really? Oh, it's a normal vector. Why on earth is this a normal vector? Set layout. Okay, so that was nonsense as well. Arg. No, I have to use that return thing. That function that I saw, which I forgot again now. Not this. Let's see. I think it's being called here somewhere. Yeah, this one. I think the size of this vector should be equal to the largest thing. So if I go upwards searching for largest, unfortunately, well, I can do this after that. Here's another one though. So what if I do this, which is using the set binding map, but that's just a const reference that was passed to this function. I can move this up to above this point. Let's put it there. And then I can move this down to down here. Large is set. Okay, now I have finally something that is a utils vector. I wanted to get rid of this get value here, although I'm not sure I can use the +1 directly on it. But the idea is that I could do this thing dot IND. So that should be equal, but yeah, the +1 is bothering me a little bit. Can I just add 1 to it? So this is a vector index. We have a ++1. I have a +int here, +1. That's going to work. So yeah. And it works again. The mystery of it all. What did he just do? Okay, but I didn't do anything. I just split up that function in two. And now we're going to do some magic after having split up this function. Okay, so let me describe the problem that I saw yesterday. The problem is that these functions are being called from pipeline factory tasks, and the only thing you need to know from that is that they are run in parallel, so they are executed by different threads. So we can enter these functions at the same time from one or two or more threads. Well, one or more, but 0 or more even. Okay. But it gets relevant when it is 2 or more. And yeah, it is deciding, I hope this function here, is deciding whether or not create a new descriptor set or use an existing one. And it's doing that here. And it is basing the decision whether or not to create a new descriptor set on information that is added to a certain set layout that I find in the shader resources. And let's say it decides that it does want to create a new descriptor set. Meaning we get here and we add the layout handle to this vector here for yeah, to remember that we have to create it, and then it's going to create it. I mean, once it leaves this loop here, this is where it is. Oops, this is where it is creating it. Passing those missing descriptor set layout handles to the allocated descriptor sets, and it creates all the missing descriptor sets. And then in the loop below here, we are adding the fact that we added it. So we're adding it and to the shader resource. Saying now we have a new descriptor set. Please reuse it. So the problem is that one thread decides it needs to create a new descriptor set. And then it starts continues running. And in the meantime, another thread could enter this same function and also it sees the same input. So it's going to decide that it needs to create a new descriptor set. So both now think they have to create a new descriptor set, and they both create it and they both add it to the shader resources, and that's not what they want. So what it needs to be done is that if one thread decides to create a new descriptor set, other threads have to wait until it finished adding it to the shader resources. If you have the feeling I don't understand it, don't worry. I hardly understand that myself. But in abstract terms, we just need to, we need one of the, we need a fruit fly. I'm the great fruit fly killer. Those flies are so irritating. As soon as you turn away your gaze, they are gone. And you cannot find them back anymore. And they multiply like viruses. Whoa! I think it escaped. I had my eyes on it again. It was sitting. I had my eyes on it again. I turned on the vacuum cleaner and it immediately flew away. Must have been inside a vacuum cleaner before, I think. I hate fruit flies. One fruit fly is okay, but yeah, 100? No, not much. And now I see one. I know it's going to turn into 100. So I have to kill it. So the problem here is that this function here, why is this cut in two functions still this big? This function is going to decide at some point that it wants to create a new descriptor set. At which point is it deciding that? I could do this in the previous function as well, but well, then I have to make this vector also a member of the object. I don't know what is worse, redoing this or storing it in an object, wasting memory longer than necessary. Tough decision. I guess to make things simpler, I would like to just move it up. On the other hand, it doesn't have anything to do with doesn't have anything to do with creating the shader resources, so it doesn't really belong in that previous function. Anyway, the point is that if at some moment here we find that a new descriptor set must be constructed, must be created, however, another thread is already working on that, then we can bail out and re-enter from the top after the other thread is finished with that. Because you can just redo everything. This is going to be perfectly reproducible. Takes CPU time, but yeah, it's not going to happen that often anyway, right? So maybe we redo all of this, but it is going to result in the same, well, the same result. This too, missing descriptor set layouts, set indexes. This is what I'm working on, this fix me. I'm going to delete this already, being optimistic. We're running over all the set indexes. Running over all the shader resources. Getting the key. This is also the same every time. The binding is the same every time. This is a local variable. Set layout binding. This takes a read lock on the set layout bindings thing of the shader resource. That's an important point. Unfortunately, so each shader resource has this m set layout bindings thing. I think that's an important important thing I can use, and it is also a read-write mutex. What I would like to do is take a read log on it, I think, and then later change it into a write log. That's what I want to do. Yes, exactly. So what I'm currently doing is taking a read log on that member here. This means const read access type, and creating it causes us to lock the read log on those set layout bindings. So now I can use this to read that thing. Yes, and then using that we find out that there isn't already a descriptor set for the thing that we are needing. And as a result, we are not calling set have match. We do not have already a descriptor set handle, and therefore we set have match to false after leaving this loop, which causes us to add the layout handle to the missing descriptor set layouts vector. And then we continue here allocating that new descriptor set, and then, well, writing it to this result vector, and then here we realize that it was a new descriptor set that we just allocated, and then we're going to call on the shader resource add set layout binding, which takes a write log on that thing. Ta-da! And what I want now is to not release the read log, but just keep the read log until this point, and then convert the read log into a write log. That way, it is not possible that two threads will write to it. I do not want two threads to decide that they can, two threads to decide that they need to allocate a new descriptor set, and then afterwards add that to the shader resources. Okay, so one of the threads is then going to fail at this point, because it is going to try to convert the read to a write log, which blocks, because the other thread also has a read log already. And then it doesn't run anymore, and then the other thread is getting to this same point and also tries to convert the read to a write log, which then throws an exception, because that's would otherwise lead to a deadlock. And then we catch the exception and cause this whole thing to start over. So we throw away all the local variables. We just exit the whole function, because not really. I can just catch the exception inside this function, I guess. But in the end, we're going to leave this function. And that must then also cause all the read logs that we have to be released. And making the thread that was hanging here, trying to convert the read to a write log, to be able to get the write log, add the stuff that it wants to add. And then the other thread will enter this function from the top. And redo everything again, and this time it should work, except that now it gets a read log again, and then it finds the descriptor set that was added. So this time around it's not going to say that we don't have a match. It's going to find it, and existing descriptor set is going to be set, and it's going to use that. So that's the plan. Now, while I was explaining this, I see a problem in that we're going to need the multiple logs, multiple read-write logs. Or don't we? Yes, we do. We have a read-write log on each of the shader resources. And in most cases, multiple shader resources are involved. So then it is possible that we take, let's say, two shader resources are involved. And the first thread takes a read log on the first two shader resources. The second thread also takes a read log on the first two shader resources. Then the first thread tries to convert the read log into a write log for one of the shader resources and blocks. Then the other thread, must be definitely in the same order then. I mean, if the other thread would try to convert the read log into a write log of the other shader resource first, we would have a deadlock. Now, it should only be possible to deadlock. No, it should only lead to a throw, to a failure, if I was going to say if the exact same shader resources are involved. I'm not sure about that now. Let me think. Well, it seems kind of obvious, right? in order to reuse a descriptor set that is already updated to be bound to all the existing shader resources, we can only reuse it if the same shader resources are involved. So if we process those in the same order, then the second thread should try to convert the same read to write log from a read to a write log first, and then throw an exception, because that is the one where the first thread was hanging on. That then results in the first thread to obtain the write log. And I'm talking about a library that I wrote. So one of those libraries that I wrote in the 10 years ago, or something like that, or in the past 10 years. So one thread converts it to a write log. That the second thread then gets thrown, leaves this function, and returns. But okay, the first thread has the write log now. So now the second thread is going to hang on trying to get the read log. What I really would like is that it doesn't hang at all, but just waits until the first thread is completely finished. I think we can do that too. As soon as we get one write log on any of the shader resources, I can also lock the canonical pointer object. So the set layout binding, I think it was, object. Not sure if that helps, however. No. This is the kind of code that really you need a computer program for to design it. Starts to get more difficult than a human can write, I have the feeling. You can also argue that then the API that I'm using is too difficult, but well. Got to start somewhere. I see that the bot thought that Hamras was repeating something. I want to know what that was. Interesting. It was spam. Well, kind of weird. I think it kicked it for the using many dots, but I wouldn't kick for that. But it was spam. And Mario is happy that I turned off the kick when someone uses excessive caps, because I think that's not a reason to kick. Sometimes those bots are just way too aggressive, I think. That's why I checked it. But yeah, well, I don't know. I think I would want to allow people to type a lot of dots, but in this case it was spam, so I'm not gonna give it more attention. Okay, so, well, why is this so difficult? Damn it. I had the idea also to use the canonical pointer, right? Is that not a possibility somehow? I am using new Vim. I tried i3 and I had to throw up, so I went to Fluxbox. And Alacrity, I don't know. What's wrong with my console? Most people seem to like my font and the colors. Allocate, update missing descriptor sets. All of this is just repeatable, no problem. I never heard of Alacrity. And yes, I'm dissing i3. Scriptor sets. Okay, we're running. Going to look at this set index. The decision is made per set index, isn't it? Yes, it definitely is. Next is, yes, sort of. Although I'm not sure what my Linux viewer project is about anymore. Initially I gave it that name because maybe I was going to write another Second Life viewer. But in the meantime, this is so much work. I'll never finish the Vulkan engine, I think. So let alone write a whole Second Life viewer on my own. It's just all way too much work. But I'm off the street, so set layout binding. I have to think. for all the shader resources that belong into the same set index, to the same set. And then I'm getting a log of the set layout bindings. Which contains per shader resource a pointer to the set layout and the binding that it is using, and a handle. Set layout pointer. Yes, set layout binding equals binding. I'm just asking myself if it is even possible that there would be more than one set layout canonical pointer that we find. I mean, it should not be possible, but then the code has become so difficult, for me at least, that I'm not feeling 100% sure about this. I think that in the end that is the case. It should be the case. Or is it? Dun 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 dun. I think. Let's pull out. Layout binding. Okay, I can have multiple bindings. Not for a moment not looking at chat anymore. Everything distracts me. Also sitting with a helicopter headset on my head to shut out every sound. So, well, I don't know. And at some point, I felt that the order in which we get these logs might be important. Let's have a short look at that. Because that would be determined by the order in which these base pointers are added to this vector here, which happens here. And that then happens with pushback, so in the order that things are ordered in M required shader resources list. Right, yeah, so then I would have to order this thing, if that makes a difference. Or sort it, I mean. You can just sort it on the pointer value. I would prefer that it didn't matter, however. It feels very, very, very much like I need a try log. I'm just simply missing a try log. A try read log even. Maybe I should add that. So if I call this and it simply fails because, because it is already write logged, then I would be totally happy to immediately abandon the code. But is it not abandon this function? I mean, is it not possible to do that with something else? Suppose it is already write logged. So this thread comes here and it hangs because some shader resource has its MZ layout bindings write logged. Well, that can only mean one thing, that is some other thread is in the middle of add set layout binding, which is keeping the log very shortly. It just inserts something and then unlocks it again. So, okay, it blocks, but only very shortly. However, the fact that it was write logged means that something was added, and that what was being added might have influence on the decision that we're going to take, which is perfectly okay, of course, if if it didn't involve multiple logs, or one on every shader resource involved here. For example, the other thread that had this write log is is adding whatever we need, and we hang shortly, but only on the first shader resource. And then we start running, and we do all of this, and we get to the end here, and we go to the top of this for loop, and we're going to try the next base, and then the next base succeeds because the other thread just didn't run in all that time. And that would be kind of stupid. That would be wrong. So I'm thinking, what if I try to take a lock on the canonical pointer here on the set layout? No, that's also not working. Get a read log. Yeah, let's try the ASCII art method again. Getting an overview. Getting an overview of things. Um, yeah, I don't know. Let's find that stuff here. Gonna copy all this or delete it rather. The decision per set index. Share resources. Sorry. Well, let's paste it here, and then the shader resources. Okay, let's put those here. But this is running over the shader resources for a given set index. So why is that? Because we already know exactly what we want. Shader resource is that thing. What do we want then? I think I'll literally this list here. Okay, let's follow this one. So this thread is going to be first in the sense that will end up with adding this, all of it. And I think this is the result of a single addition. And this is two. There's two descriptor sets though. Yeah, yeah. This is more like, I think this is the we are trying to create a pipeline. So this describes it. Let's see. So one of the pipelines has for set index number 0. The U1, U2, U1. And for the other set index it has T2, T1. Let's call that the first pipeline. Factory, but whatever. So that would, well, let me add the second one as well. Second, that's it in parallel. So the second pipeline then has yeah, well, what I did here was this, but it's a bit too limited, I think. So what it says there is that we were using but we are also passing a set binding map that swaps the two sets. If I would apply that, then these two would be swapped, and at index 0 we would just have U2, U1. I don't want that. I want to see that there can be a larger difference. So let's say, on the other hand, maybe it's going to do that anyway, right? It's about the layout. I just need a lot more shader resources. Yeah, I'm going to add a T3 and a T4 and a U3 and a U4. That should be enough. And then let's say this one puts on number 2. We put well, U3, U4. And then I'm going to put this rather randomly somewhere. I don't think it really matters where I put them. Let's put those here, and then let's put this one three. Well, this is just going to be 2 and 1 and 0. Or let me just swap these two. Well, I didn't swap them here, so let's swap them here. And then the T's were swapped, so let's not swap this. And I think that the set binding map only takes into account the layout, not the bindings. Well, it's going to take the bindings into account here, but set binding map is named wrong. It should be just the set map, and it's only going to take the layout into account, meaning that this is a combined image sampler and this is a uniform buffer, but not which one it is. Therefore, it can wrongly say assign U2 to U3 here. I mean, it's just UU and UU. So the map says that it thinks that this UU is equivalent to the number 2 here. And the TT is say number 3, and this TT is another one, I guess. Is that so? Yeah, it must be. Okay, they must all be different. Which is yeah. This one has the identity map and this one has this map. So if I change that, if I apply the map, am I applying the map? I think I am, because this is running over set layout bindings. Sorry, what is it here? Shader resources per set index, where the set index is the actual set index. Rather, I have to look at this vector, I think, and see if we did convert something. We push back to set index, and set index is converted. Set binding map convert. So, ignoring the set index hints and just going straight to the set indexes as I envision them, what we really see is then this. This is just 0. And then we get number 1 to be that. And number 2 to be this one. And number 3 to be this one. So now here you see it has it wanted to have uniform buffer and uniform buffer on 2 and textures on 2 in this one, which is totally not compatible. And after the set conversion we have UU and UU and TT and TT, and again UU and UU and TT and TT. So now it's the layouts match. But deliberately I made the actual uniform buffers that we're going to bind. I just messed them up all. So now instead of having U2, U1 here, I'm having U4 and 3. And here we have 2 and 1 instead of 3 and 4, and the same for the textures. Plus, U2, U1 have the correct bindings, they are in this order, but U3, U4 is here changed to U4, U3, so the binding is different. For the textures you have the same here, the T1, T2, T1 gets swapped, but the T4, T3 did not get swapped. That means that we can reuse the descriptor set that is being used for T4, T3, because it's exactly the same. And we can reuse the descriptor set for U2, U1, because it's exactly the same. But we cannot reuse the descriptor set that was used for T2, T1, because they have a different binding. So we can reuse 2 of them. We have to concentrate on those because I want to avoid that they are not being reused. Now obviously this runs over all the descriptor sets. So this is going to run over 0 and then over 1 and then 2 and then 3. And that is the same for both pipeline factories, because it's simply an integer that runs from 0 to 3. But here we have a difference. Here we have the first pipeline. Maybe we should abbreviate that to pipeline 1, pipeline 0. Am I using a pipeline? Not, yeah, but okay, but I definitely have it here somewhere. I think there's a readme here. Using 0, yeah, I start at 0, counting at 0, okay. So let's say pipeline 0, and for the clarity, I'm going to replace this with pipeline 0 and this with pipeline 1, and then this is pipeline 1 after conversion. And then this is going to run for pipeline 0 when the set index is yeah, the set index is 0. So let's add that here. For set index 0 and pipeline 0, we're going to have pipeline 0, set index 0, U2, U1. And then let's remove these spaces because I don't have enough space. U2, U1, so number 1 is just simply this one. And then we get this. And then we get this. While for pipeline 1, we're going to run over these things. But not necessarily in that order. I don't think there is an order here. Yeah, I could make it have an order, and I hope that is not necessary, but I'm not sure. The order being say we can. This is a loop over the shader resources. So for the pipeline 1, and when the index is 1, we run here over T3 and T4, but we don't know the order. Could first get T3 and then T4 or the other way around. However, the binding is known. So we get a binding, and then the binding is always 0 for the first one, that as I show it here, and 1 for the second one. That's why I have put them in this order. And this then runs from, well, the first time becomes 1, and for the second one it becomes 2. And then you get read access to the set layout bindings of a given shader resource. Right, really. Difficult. What is stored in the set layout bindings? Well, could say it's empty. So, but something is going to be stored into it. And well, it's a set layout bindings container where there's a set of descriptor set layout bindings. So that's ordered, and the set layout binding contains a pointer to the set layout, and the binding number. And the set layout contains well, mostly the handle of the layout, which is unique because of the cache. So we can just treat all of them unique, and the canonical pointer as well. But in the end I represent purely the descriptor set layouts. I think the only thing you can say about set index hint is something that is then in the end probably not relevant. Like everything that is in the same set layout has the same set index hint or something like that. Well, I don't really know what it is, so it's not really important. So what we do have is set layout pointers, one for each descriptor set layout. And I can add that to my graph or drawing or whatever. That's those 4 lines here. Still need it here, I guess. Pretty sure that is correct. Well, I just said I wanted to ignore the set index hint in the set layout. So that leaves us just with the UU and the TT. The UT is of course also a possible layout, but we are not using that in our example. Only using UU and TT. So we're going to have only 2 canonical pointers, I think. Namely, one that points to this and one that points to this. Let's call this canonical pointer 0 and this canonical pointer 2. Now, it would be nice if I understood what this was running over. This is running over the set layout bindings of a given shader resource. So yeah, that kind of depends if it was already added or not. So maybe what I should add is what I should write down here in the comment is what will be added for both cases. So there's either one or the other should be added, but there are two possibilities. Either nothing was added yet, or one of the possibilities will be added at some point. And well, I'm trying to adjust this code so that not both will be added. Well, then what is going to be added? If we just run one pipeline factory, only one, then it has no problems. It runs through this code, sees that there is nothing. Let's say this is empty. If it is empty, then still have a match is always false. Have match is always false, and we are always adding the layout handles for every given set index. And we are allocating them. And then we are going to see that there are new descriptors. And then we are going to add this to every shader resource. This and it was just added to just a new handle to a new descriptor set. This might be important. That's the binding number of the shader resource, and this is supposed to be the canonical pointer. That is the descriptor set layout canonical iterator. Okay. How is this even compiling? Oh, sorry. I was looking not correctly. Yeah, no. For some reason I thought this line was below this brace. I don't know why. Okay, so this is only done when there's a new descriptor set we add it, and well, from this point, what does this do? It's an argument that is passed to the function. Sorted descriptor set layouts container type. It doesn't make any sense. Ouch. Oh. Painful. What the heck is this doing? Oh well, let's assume it works for now. So whatever this is, it's going to be the canonical pointer to something. I want to know what that something is though. Can see that here, I guess. Set layout binding. Pausing is set layout binding. It's a set layout. Pointer to the set layout. Set layout. Yeah, so I should say probably possible values as added by. As added by pipeline 0. So if this is pipeline 0, it's not there because it's going to be added by pipeline 0. And then we have, well, then I should add what pipeline 0 is going to be adding. It's going to be adding something per shader resource. So we're going to put shader resources up here now as a table thing. Texture 1, texture 2, texture 3, texture 4, uniform buffer 1, uniform buffer 2, uniform buffer 3, uniform buffer 4. Now, if pipeline 0 succeeds in being the one that creates a new descriptor set, then it is going to add a set layout binding that exists apart from the handle. Let's ignore the handle. This set layout binding contains ignoring the handle, the pointer and the binding. So for T1, that is then, well, which pointer is it adding? PL0 wants T1 to be part of a TT, and TT is CP1. So this is adding CP1, and the binding number is PL0 was the T1 is the binding number 1. And then I get the next one. And then we have a better idea probably to put all of this not that far to the right. Doesn't want to do that. Okay. Delete. Put it there. Something went wrong. Oh, that doesn't work like that. Let's put it there. Right, so T2, well, all the T's are going to be CP1, of course, because CP1 is TT and all the T's are part of TT's layouts. So it is going to be CP1, comma, and then the T2 and the T1 are in the same thing. So if T1 is binding 1, then this is going to be the binding 0. And then we have CP1, comma, and then T3. Well, I swapped that, so this has got to be 0 then. Well, let's check. PL1, T3 is noob. It's not 0. It's binding 1. T1 was binding 1, and then T3 is also binding 1. Whatever, it is 1. And then T was a CP1, comma, well, that must be 0 then. And that is CP0, comma, and the binding of U1 is 1. CP0, comma, 0. CP0, comma, U3 is 1, sorry, 0. And CP0, 1. Yeah, the U4 is here, so this binding number 0, 1. And what is added by PL1 is slightly different. Namely, the binding numbers of U3, 4 swapped. And T1, T2 swapped. I think though this is correct. So PL1, T1, PL1, T1 is 0, T2 is 1, T3 is 1, T4 is 0, U1 is 1, U2 is 0, and U3 is 1, and U4 is 0. Yep. Now this is a vector in itself, but our vectors only have a single element now. This is just one element that is added by either pipeline, and if both pipelines added, then we have both of them. But if both pipelines already added it, then nobody's executing this code. But in principle, this could also be a vector that contains this and this. Yes, except of course in this case, there is, if this is added, then this one will never be added because it is the same. Likewise for this one and this one, this one. Right, so that's this loop. And then this loop here, can you imagine I was doing this in my head before? Sort of, I guess. No wonder I couldn't figure it out. Let's hope that this will shine some clarity on the whole thing. These comments. So set layout canonical pointer is then, well, CP0 or CP1. Depending on, well, depending on this this thing here. For example, if this is going to be, I don't know, pick one, this one, then this is going to be CP0, obviously. And binding, this binding here is then the one. If we find it. So what happens is that at the moment we are running pipeline 0, or let's be running, let's make pipeline 0 win. So we are running pipeline 1 and pipeline 0 already finished. So this is already in there. We are running pipeline 1. Then what happens is that for T1 we see that the binding is different because our binding is 0 and the binding that was added is 1. So they are not equal. So you are not incrementing this, and after that it fails to be equal ever, and therefore the still have a match is not set to true. So this is have match set to false, and it is being added, the layout is being added as something that we need to create a new descriptor set for. which is correct because they are different. So then we have already this, but because this 1 is unequal to 0, we are adding that. Yep. And in the case that we're trying, say, texture 4, it would happen that the bindings are equal, because 0 is equal to 0. So we're trying to add 0 here, and we already have 0 here. Then what happens that for the given canonical pointer, which is CP1, we are incrementing a count, which is equal to the number of shader resource count per set index. Why? Because the first time we incremented to 1, and then this is also 1, because that is simply incremented here. And we have 2 of them per set index. So the first time we increment this to 1, and we increment this to 1, because the bindings are equal. So we still have a match, and I'm even initializing the existing descriptor set already. Then we get the end of this for loop, but this for loop has only a single element, only this element. So we leave this loop, we skip this, get to the end of this loop, which is this for loop, and then we go to the next element for the given set index. Well, I said we were working on T4, and this is PL1. So if we are on PL1 and we were working on T4, that now we will be working on T3. So then we get T3 here, and that means that we find that the binding is again equal, the binding number. So now we do this again, and we do it again on CP1. The same as here, CP1 here, CP1 here. That's logical because both T3 and T4 are in that layout. So the layout is TT, which is CP1. So then this is being incremented to 2. It's the same pointer. And this was already incremented here to 2, so it's still equal, so we still have a match. And then when we get here, we are at the end of this vector, so we leave that, and have match is still true, and therefore we use the existing descriptor set for that set index. That's how the code works. And now I have to concentrate on what happens if PL0 already passed this code and is going to add it. So it's already here, it already decided that it is missing a descriptor set, and PL0 is here, but it didn't add anything yet. Well, that means that it didn't add anything to this. So this loop is going to be empty. There is no CP10 yet added by PL0, and there is no CP11 added yet by PL0. Or maybe it did add CP1 already for T3, but it didn't add it for T4, or the other way around. Either way, is if one of these two or both are missing, then we are going to fail to increment this twice. You're going to increment it for each that exists. Therefore, it's not going to be equal every time. Therefore, have match is going to be set to false. And therefore, PL1 is also going to try to add it. While PL0 was already doing that. So that's a problem. And I would love to continue, but I have to eat lunch, and I'm going to do that first. So, yeah, maybe, I don't know, when I'm back, I'm just It really sucks that I just can't tell you, but I don't want YouTube to control my life, so I'm not making any promises, sorry. Anyway, I am going to eat lunch and then maybe probably lay down for a bit below my tablet and play some games or something like that. And I'll be back in a few hours, it's most likely. It has happened every time this when I want to eat, so. Thank you for watching. Let me have a quick look at the chat in case people are still here that ask questions. Vian SX said, "What the heck is this?" And he cried, or she. Yeah, I don't know. What? Are you still there, Hyratin? Was there any super interesting question? Let me start at the bottom. Those people are most likely still here. How long have you been learning programming? Asked Marcel. I started when I was 12, and now I'm 58. So that is 46 years. And I've been doing C++ for 28 years. And then I mean intensively, like 7 days a week or something like that. I'm not sure what I learned during that time. I mean, the most important thing is probably neural path in your brain. So one of the things that I notice is that I can read compiler errors quite quick. If I get a compiler error of a whole page long, then I just scan over it and I understand what it is. But I didn't start with that as a kid. So normally you would say if you really want to have certain brain patterns burned in your brain, you have to start as a kid. And I couldn't because C++ didn't even exist then. I think I coded in Basic, GFA Basic. It's kind of a Pascal-like programming language till in my 20s. I did some really, really hacky stuff back then, but yeah, there wasn't a Linux, there wasn't an operating system that was serious. It was all shit. No, I was not using Windows. I was using my father bought a DAI, D-A-I. That's one of the first computers. I started at 12 at the TRS-80 in a shop that sold them, where I went back very often. And then at some point my dad bought a DAI. I think you might be able to find it. DAI computer maybe. Yeah, there it is. Gezocht. Yeah, so bad, man. I should still have this thing, but it got lost. It's absolutely insane that it got lost. I mean, nobody in the right mind would ever have thrown it away. I think not. But I don't have it. My brother doesn't have it. My dad doesn't have it. So where did it go? It just vanished. It's so weird. That was a beautiful thing. We had 48 kilobytes of RAM, yes, and that costed thousands of guilders, so let's say euros at the time. I think we paid like 4,000, or my dad paid 4,000 for 48 kilobytes of RAM. And then that did run, including the CPU, on a whopping 2 megahertz. So the current CPUs per core run on 4 gigahertz. That's 2,000 times as fast. And then I have, in this case, I can run 32 threads. So my current computer is 64,000 times as fast as this computer. So yeah, the brain paths that I've burnt into my brain is a phobia for slow code. And I still try to optimize everything into the ridiculousness. Okay, I'm going to eat. So maybe I'll see you tonight or later this afternoon. Which compiler is best for a beginner? I don't know, man. I mean, there's not that much. If you use Linux, and that's the only thing I have some understanding for, C++, G++, or Clang. There are no others. See if we see on any other. Is your engine object-oriented programming? Yes, of course, totally, 100%. I wish I could be like you, says Fuzz, knowing what to do. Yeah, well, I'm mostly complaining during the stream that I have no clue, I think. But yeah, and I'm also never bored anymore. There's always something to do. Trying to think of a reason to say something more useful. I mean, the only thing I know is I never give up. So if I get stuck, I just divide the problem into subproblems and I start to work on the subproblem. And if I get stuck on that, I divide it again. I never give up. There is always a path that you can follow. Including not just for coding, but including for, say, well, it was computer related. But say I was working really even. I was working for Getronics in the Netherlands here, and I fucked up something. So I don't know. I overrode my master boot record. Yes. No, it cannot be that bad. I lost partition tables anyway of my hard disk, so all the data was gone. And I couldn't reboot. So you have a dead PC and you cannot boot it and everything's gone. What do? Give up? I think most people would say, oh, well, that's shit, but I don't know what to do. So I give up and I'll just reformat the hard disk and start over and tell my boss, sorry, I lost everything and I have to start over. But that's never an option for me. No. I thought, how can I fix this? And I fix it, I think, within an hour. I'm not sure if that had anything to do with knowing what to do. More by refusing to give up and just telling yourself, okay, this is shitty, but must be able to be solved. I can solve it. There was some knowledge involved though. I knew what I did, so I think I really only lost my partition tables, and I already knew that if you just write your partition tables again, then the data is still there. So I had to recover. Yeah, I just had to recover the partition tables. I think what I did was I added. Must have been gambling is hard, right? There was some kind of method that I could guess the size of the first partition, and then you could try to mount it. So I would write the partition table again and then try to mount things, and if that succeeded, it succeeded. And if it didn't succeed, then it would work on, change the size again, I guess, until I had the first partition and then the second partition and so on. You can write as many times to a lost partition table as you want. It was lost anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna eat.